Hey guys, I'm just tidying myself up here before I go live. Well, I am live now. So yeah, I've just come back from a meeting, and the question that I posed over the last few days about, what you want support with in here, it was really interesting when so many of you came back and basically said, I want to learn to trust myself more. I want to hear that voice more. And then when I read your, hi Siobhan, when I hear your responses and we go a little bit deeper, I hear you saying you do trust yourself, you can hear your voice, but it's the external factors that are often, the things that are clouding those intuitive impulses. So what I thought is, since I've been off on holiday and I've been away from here for a while, I thought I'm going to come back in today and I'm going to take you through the 5 steps of the harmonizing process from the beginning and pose some questions as we go through the 5 steps. So I'm going to begin with, so this is a life alignment process, and as I see it, I'm going to start here. As I see it, we are all part, like in nature, there are ecosystems where, an oak tree is feeding another tree miles away through this system underneath the ground. One part of nature is feeding the next part of nature. I really believe that each of us have a unique role to play in the jigsaw puzzle of humanity. So each of us have something that we have unique gifts, we're wired for that. You've heard this, but I'm going to go over it again. So we're all wired for specific things. We have a divine blueprint, if you like. Some of us are going to be creators, we're going to create businesses, we're going to create ideas, we're going to innovate, and we're going to make up new systems, new things. Some of us are going to do that. Other people are maybe connectors, they're out there and they might take an idea and they might share it with the world. You have other people who are great at supporting people, that's their niche. So there's lots of different qualities that each of us have. Not everyone will have a clear purpose, a clear project, a clear plan, a clear idea, and that's what we want to go for. So, one of the first things we've got to do is we've got to recognise that in that big picture, each of us have unique qualities and abilities. Now, I would highly recommend that you go and have a look at Roger Hamilton online. He has a personality profiling system with 5 different personality types, where, not personality types, but it's almost like natural tendencies that we have. He has 5 different types that identify where you sit best. So are you a communicator? Are you someone who goes out and makes great connections? Are you someone who innovates? Are you someone who just nurtures and really looks after people? Are you someone who's really into detail and looks at supporting others through the detail that you produce, maybe tech support, stuff like that? So number 1, first thing that I really thought before I go into the process is just about really recognising how we operate as these human vessels, these individuals with strong minds, spirits, clear human design. We have a design. So number 1, we've got to try and work out what that design is. If we just try to follow formulas, like finding our purpose and following it, and yet we're someone who is clearly designed to support other people, someone who's designed to nurture others, someone who's designed to support others in their business through technical stuff. If you're trying to find your unique purpose, then you might be on the wrong tracks. So number 1, have a look at Roger Hamilton's work. So if each of us have this potential, if you like, then as I see it, we are custodians of this potential. We are here to look after it and to realise it so that we can support others in the network of humanity. So number 1, the first step on the harmonizing process is we've got to know ourselves. So part of it might be that we have to identify, what sort of personality type are we? What are our qualities? What are our gifts? And you've got to know that for yourself. So going back to intuition, if you don't know that stuff and you keep just trialing loads and loads and loads of different things, you're never going to feel grounded. You're never going to feel like an oak tree with your roots in the ground. And this journey, getting to know yourself, number one, this takes a bit of work. It takes a bit of investigation. So like I've said, have a look at Roger Hamilton's work. There's loads of stuff in the harmonizing work that I do that digs in to who I am, and what lights me up. So number one, you got to know who you are. If you keep muddling around, if you don't know your type, if you don't know what your unique ability is, are you a supporter, are you a creator, are you a connector? If you don't know those things, then you could be barking up the wrong tree, and then you just feel this muddle and this ungroundedness inside. Once you identify who you are, we work with the inner child to really wake this stuff up, because you will have seen signs of it when you were a small child. I was in a meeting earlier, and I was talking about when I was a small child, all I wanted to do was give my money to these little black babies in Africa. And it was like, I just wanted to give, I just wanted to care, and I would tuck my dollies in and make them all safe and happy. And that was in me from when I was a small child. So when we reflect back on the inner child, we can see signs of what was really natural to us. So we've got to get clear about that. Then once we get clear about that, then what we've got to do is we've got to learn to really appreciate ourselves for what we are and what we are not. So that's not about being great at everything. It's not about being exceptional at everything. It's not being all things to all people. What this is about saying, I am good at this stuff. This is my uniqueness. And the other stuff, well, I'm not so good at that, because that's what being human's about. We're not great at everything. You have a unique divine design. That does not mean that you are great at everything. It means that there are certain things that are just, you just excel in them. And part of the harmonizing alignment process is really getting to know what that is. What lights your fire? What is it you're so passionate about? What makes you excited? What switches your brain on? What helps you lose time? What interests you? And then we're going to integrate that into our lives. And then all the other stuff that other people might say, you should do this, you should be this, you should be able to do that. Then that actually that stuff's not for you. Just been in a meeting with someone, and the lady in the meeting was saying, or one of the ladies in the meeting was saying, she lived with a partner, and her partner said to her, I know you better than you know you. And she bought into that. He knows me better than I know me. And one day, this guy just disappeared out her life. He dumped her. And when he dumped her, she was broken and devastated, because what happens is if we hand our power over to our partners, our bosses, our children, whoever it is, they have the power, and we forget who we are. When we forget who we are, we lose our roots, we lose our grounding in ourselves. So we've got to hold on really tightly. Fiona, I don't know if you're online right now, Fiona was saying this morning that when somebody challenges her with an idea that is different from the way she sees it, she starts to defer to them. And then she loses herself. So you are this divine essence. And this essence, it is your responsibility to guard it and to guide it. Oh, there she is. You're there, Fiona. You're there to guard it and you're there to guide it. You have a responsibility to that aspect of spirit, to guide it, to preserve it. And if you give everybody else the opportunity to control it, you will feel disconnected from yourself. You'll feel disconnected from your core. So the next step, first of all, it's know yourself. The next step is love yourself. And this is about recognizing that, you know, there's parts of me, sometimes I can be really, what would I say? I can be often quite protected. I'm on a mission, and I've got a plan, and, you know, sometimes it's difficult for people to get access to me. And I'll share something personal with you this morning. I got a knock at the door this morning, and my mum's partner came in, and he kind of sneaked up the stairs, and he said to me, "I'm so sorry, are you working? Are you working?" And I was like, yeah, I am, because I was going into a meeting. And he said, "Oh, it's just your mum's fallen over and hurt her wrist." And I was like, oh my gosh. Instead of just coming in and saying, "Dawn, can you just drive your mum to hospital?" there was this whole qualification about, you know, me working first. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I make my family feel that way. People know that I'm busy, and they don't barge in because I've created boundaries, to the point where they actually questioned whether I'd be available to take my mum to hospital. And I felt awful. But there's another part of me that has this protection around me, or has this structure around me, because I don't want to be distracted the whole time. I don't want to be distracted constantly with stuff, because when I'm focused, and I'm going to where I want to go, and I want to be on track. So I'm protecting this potential, because this human being has a job to do in this world, and I've worked out what that job is. And sometimes when something like that happens this morning, you know, I might want to review whether I have boundaries anymore, or maybe I should just be taking phone calls at any time, or, you know, when somebody comes to my door, just opening up the door, and, you know, and I might want to change my whole plan because of the reaction that I saw this morning. But I still come back and I accept myself, and I accept my boundaries, because I've thought this stuff through. And I recognise that I'm not available as some people would want me to be. And, you know, there's a part of me thinks, I want to be the good girl, and I want to be there for everybody, and I want to, please people. But if I do that, I'm not going to fulfil my purpose. I'm not going to fulfil my deep heart's desires. So I have to accept that that's part of me. And it's part of my life. And, you know, you might even be watching this and thinking, oh, that's a bit hard. And sometimes, you know, actually really empowering the self, really getting into your power. Hey guys, really getting into this means sometimes you've got to be a bit hard. You've got to be a bit tough. You've got a bit of that masculine energy. And a bit brave. Sometimes you've got to be a bit brave, because it takes courage to do those things, especially in the early days. So I wonder in your life where, you know, you are, where you'd like to be a certain way, to move on, to manifest your potential, to realise your dreams. I wonder where maybe you're not loving yourself, or being tough on yourself, or thinking, I've got to be everyone's friend, and I've got to fit the mould, to be what everyone else wants me to be, rather than knowing that you are the custodian of this spirit. And this spirit and this purpose needs to be manifested, or, you know, or that you have this work to do in the world. And this, your choices need to be congruent with that. Otherwise, your roots become weak. You start to feel lightheaded. You feel unsure about where you're going. You're lacking clarity. You tell yourself you can't trust your intuition. But in effect, what's happening is we are not loving ourselves enough, not caring for ourselves enough to give ourselves the strength to do what it is we need to do, we want to do, that our soul's calling us to do, that our heart's calling us to do in the world. The loving yourself part of that is about loving yourself enough to let go your past, loving yourself enough to let go your story, loving yourself enough to take a knock, even if you might fall down. Loving yourself enough to follow your heart's desires and take a risk in your life. Loving yourself enough to step up and to step forward and to know that somehow you will recover after a period of time. Loving yourself enough to give yourself what your heart and your soul are calling for right now. Loving yourself enough so that you do not do what you should do, but instead what you know you want to do. You know, so there's this loving yourself, loving your purpose, loving yourself enough to honour who you are, to honour what you deserve, in what you see in other people and what they experience. Loving yourself enough to give yourself those experiences. And we'll come on to in the further down the line, I'm going to talk to you about uncertainty. I'm going to talk to you about courage. I'm going to talk to you about when it does go wrong. I'm going to talk to you about embracing beginnings and endings and how we really, really need to find new ways to thrive and not stagnate in this stuck place that we get into, this fearful place that we get into, and the soul potential and the heart's calling become stuck. They become stagnant in the body, and the manifestation doesn't happen in life. So know yourself, know yourself, know yourself. If you don't already do it, this isn't something, this whole personal transformation consciousness experience is not something to pick up on a Saturday night for 2 hours. It's not something that is just an intermittent thing. This is a commitment to yourself. This is a daily practice. This is something that you give energy, you give focus, and you give attention every day, even if it's only for half an hour. We give it to ourselves every day in honour of ourselves so that we can thrive up into your human potential. That's, you know, Nikki, yeah. So know yourself, love yourself like you would your children, like you would, you know, the way you love your friends, the way that you want the best for parents, for whoever is around you. Give, learn, pick up You Can Heal Your Life, pick up my book, Super Confidence, you know, learn to love yourself. And that is what will give you the foundation of confidence. That is what will give you the springboard. It'll give you the stepping stones that you need to start ascending, rising up, stepping up into your power. Number one, without these anchors, the roots of the tree are not firmly in the ground. They cannot get the nourishment they need. And as a result, the whole tree starts to feel wobbly. The energy inside, it begins to stagnate. Nothing is growing. Nothing is thriving. Nothing is rising if those roots are not in the ground. And if you've been doing personal development, as I know loads of you have been doing for years, you know, if you've been doing personal development, and as I go through the stages, you might be at one of the higher stages with where you're at right now, but if your roots are not in the ground, if you don't have a daily practice, if you're struggling with self-esteem and self-confidence and self-belief and direction and clarity, if you haven't got your roots in the ground, then you cannot rise up. So number one, we've got to get the confidence. We've got to get the self-belief. We've got to get sure about the direction, sure about our ability, sure about what feels right for us right now. Because this is an ever-changing process. You know, you will start things and you will stop things from time to time. But what's important is that you are, you know, when you really get your roots in the ground, when you really, you know who you are, know what you want, know what you don't want, accept the things that are great about you, accept your shadow. When you start to accept and see yourself, then no one else can knock you off track. Number two, step two in the harmonizing process. So one, know yourself and love yourself. Step two, Hilary, love, honour and respect all parts of yourself, warts and all. Daily look at the mirror, love yourself, love it, absolutely. So step number two is, you know, so you have this piece of potential. Now what I'm realising and what I'm feeling more and more and more is that you know, where I used to think of myself as Dawn Breslin, and, you know, I used to work with managing my mind and empowering myself, you know, by really creating a powerful mindset and, you know, powerful daily routines. That's changing for me now. My consciousness is changing, and I'm recognizing that Dawn Breslin's body, temple, this thing that's talking to you, is the vessel that holds Dawn Breslin's spirit, that actually, you know, so spirit is speaking through me. I am the custodian of this soul that wants to express itself through me. So my responsibility to me is to manage this, you know, so manage the biocomputer, the mindset. It's to manage the heart. It's to feel the responses in my heart, in my body, to the questions that I'm asking. And I have to stay open to the spiritual and the soul impulses that come through me. So I don't see myself anymore as just simply Dawn Breslin. I see myself as Dawn Breslin's the carrier of the soul and the spirit messages that are to come through me. That's very different from thinking, you know, I can't do this. I don't have the confidence to do this. I don't have the courage to do this. It's kind of like where my mindset's coming from now is, oh, right, okay, so I've got to just create the conditions so that spirit can work through me, and through the harmonizing mindset, which, you know, I feel I've been gifted. Through that mindset, that allows me to make mistakes. It allows me to have a shadow. It allows me to step up and get things wrong from time to time. This body is just basically delivering the feelings, the impulses, the instructions that I'm sensing from soul, from spirit, through my intuition. And what I'm doing now is I'm just aligning the mindset and aligning with the body and the heart so that I can feel into the responses. But the most important thing here is the mindset. I did a post the other day about how my mindset had changed completely. So I buy into impermanence now. Nothing is forever. I buy into, you know, try it. If it doesn't work out, you might fail, but you know what? You'll start something else again. I buy into the idea that, you know, whatever you're going to do, it's going to be slow, it's going to take time, it's going to take commitment. It's one step after another. It's the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous program. It's just one step after another every day. Sometimes I've got loads of energy, sometimes I don't. So it's this whole big evolving, organic, sustainable way of being. But the principles are all firmly in place. So, number 2, gosh, I'm going on a bit, am I? Jade. So downloads all the time. They come in. When I was away, everything's just become crystal clear now. You know, my company's now up and running. My coaching's out there. Just had a massive meeting with Unison talking about creating a well-being system for the whole country ultimately. I mean, this is so exciting, and it's this stuff that we're going to be working on. Anyhow, number 2, empowerment. To be in my power. I am the custodian of this soul, of this spirit message, this heart-centered way of being in the world. I have got to take it out there. If I have the wrong people around me, if I have people draining me, if my house is a mess, if my finances are a mess, if I am under pressure financially, if I am not being covered financially every day, I cannot get into my flow. This is a massive message. You cannot get into flow. Oh, look, it's a money spider. Look, how great is that? Right, I've got to let it go. Go on my computer. Go to my bank account. Love that. Did you see that? Yeah, so the next level is, and I see it like an onion. At the core of the onion, there is you, right? And then you have all these layers around you. You've got your home, and how you feel in your home. You've got your, finances. You've got your friendship groups. You've got the people that you work with. You've got your family. You know, all of these relationships, all of these, thank you for the love hearts, all of these dynamics are going on around us. If they're messy, if they're causing strain, if they're causing pain, if they're holding you back, if you've got voices, if you're trying to please other people by staying small, if you're prioritizing somebody else's life by staying small, if you're trying not to be too big for your boots and staying small, you're denying your spirit, you're denying your soul calling. And what you're doing is this, basically what happens is the onion will squash you and squash that potential that's at the core. So what we've got to do is we've got to tidy stuff up. You know, when I was away, I was thinking about writing my book, and you know how I get all of this into a book. But I thought, you know, I remember when I lost everything. So lost the whole lot. I had nothing. You know, I was on tax credits. This was 5 years ago. Tax credits. My house was in chaos. Disarray everywhere. My finances were a mess. Anyway, finances were taken away and dealt with by the debt company. The next thing that I did is I went to my pants drawer and I threw out all the grey pants. And I went to somewhere, it wasn't Marks and Spencer's because I wasn't shopping in Marks and Spencer's, and I bought all black pants. And I tidied out my drawers and I just started to tidy everything up and get it into order. I started to paint furniture and get my rooms into a space. I gave myself a little window of time to get life organised, to get my foundation right, to get a sense of flow, a sense of peace, a sense of ease in my life. So I created that sense of, that foundation. With my relationships, I minimised everything. I didn't have the energy to give all of me out to people anymore. So I cut it right back. And it's cut back right now. It's still not, you know, I still don't have big networks of friends because I only have so much to give out every day. So what I had to do is I had to learn to say no. Again, I had to learn to not be the good girl. I had to learn to speak up and say what I felt. You know, people were saying to me, why don't you go and get a job and just earn a little bit of money? I had no energy. Only I know what is good for me. Only I know. And when I start to succumb and when I start to hear what other people say, then again, I lose my roots. I lose my centre. Now, what I'm not saying is don't listen to other people, because I constantly talk to my partner about business ideas, about all sorts of things. And I said my business partner, I actually meant my partner, my fiance. I talk to him all the time and he comes up with amazing ideas. And sometimes I go with his idea rather than mine because I trust him. And I trust that he, you know, he's doing things the best for me. So there are people that are going to change my mind from time to time. But as he always says to me, he says, nothing changes. The core purpose is there. You know what you're going, where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you don't deviate from that point. You don't deviate from it. Nikki, just step by step. You know what you've got to do. And it's step by step by step. Commitment, day by day. I remember talking in this group about the idea of someone going out and setting up workshops. And, you know, I've done workshops in the last 6 months where there's been 2 people have turned up. Today I'm talking about training thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But if I hadn't done the 2s, if I hadn't done the 1 person in a workshop, 1 person in a talk, I wouldn't have the experience I've got now to go and do the much bigger work. So it's a step-by-step process. So second level is empowerment. That's boundaries, saying no, protecting yourself. So where are you selling out? Who are you hiding from? Who are you being small for? Are you hiding from yourself? Is it at level number 1? You're scared of rejection if you go out there and take your message out, take yourself out. You know, are you worried about the bruising, which is going to come later? So that's level 2. Level 2 is empowerment. It's about setting boundaries. It's about recognising where your energy's going. It's about recognising where you're giving out too much and you're giving to people that don't even give back to you. It's about living your life for people that don't even care about you. People that, you want their love. And as a result, you're prepared to sacrifice your sole purpose, your self, for them, and they don't even love you. They don't even care for you. They don't even respect you. I remember, again, just a little story. I remember my poor mum when she was bereaved for the second time, and there was a woman in our street, and this woman was so critical of everyone in the street. And my mum had met her new partner, and she was so scared to bring him back to the house because of this gossipy woman in the street who spoke about everyone. So the gossipy woman in the street was controlling my lovely mum's house, my lovely mum's life. Who's controlling your life? Who's it you're scared to step up in case you hurt? Who is it you're hiding from? And are you committing an act of violence towards yourself, towards your soul, by staying small? How much energy and effort is it taking for you to stay small? So we've got to tidy up the house, the knicker drawer. We've got to tidy up the friendships. We've got to tidy up the connections. And we've got to ask ourselves, who's with me on this soul journey? Who's supporting me on this soul journey? And who takes from me on this soul journey? And spend your time with the supporters. Give your love to the supporters. Be around the supporters. And I know this will bring conflict up for some of you, because sometimes we're in relationships and we're not getting the support in our relationships. We're not getting the support from our parents, and this is painful, and it takes courage and it takes guts to stay in your power. Number 3, level 3 in the harmonizing process. So number 1, you know yourself. Number 2, you look in the mirror every day, as you said, Hilary, and you learn to love yourself. Warts and all. The whole idea of personal development being this lovely, big, shiny thing that is all easy and is all beautiful and is all light, which I used to think it was, those days are gone. We now recognise the shadow. We now recognise imperfections. We now recognise that there are aspects of ourselves that might not be quite as shiny and lovely as we once wanted them to be. The divine feminine work that is now being breathed into this world, that stuff is all about the warts and all. It's about the shadow. It's the inner wild woman. I've got makeup on today, never wore any makeup on my travels for 3 weeks. Who cares what I look like? I step into roles. I'll be the traveller, I'll be the businesswoman, I'll be sexy sometimes, and other times I'll just be boring and I'll be still and I'll be by myself. It's learning to see ourselves from lots of different aspects and accepting all of it. So number 1, accept the self. Number 2 is protect that self. Don't compromise her. And number 3 is we need to learn to energize her, because once we know who she is, once we're protecting her, we've got to give her the energy. We've got to give her the engine to go out there and do what she needs to do. Let me just check these comments. Staying small keeps things safe. My inner voice is saying, yay. Trisha, it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're doing great. Hilary, channeled of course Spirit and Soul Coaching 4 years ago. The people who have done life-changing results just need to learn how to market it properly. Been there, no money, no job. Yeah, okay, so you've got it, Hilary. So it's about doing it. It's how are you going to do it? If you've got the proven results, Okay, so I don't know where you're at financially now, but it's really important that if you're birthing something like this, you need to have your base finances covered so that you can start to take risks and play with the idea as you push it out there. So number 3 is, it's about this. It's about balancing masculine and feminine energy. So again, from personal experience, a lot of you know that I burned out completely 5 years ago. Spent 2 years in recovery, just learning to breathe again, learning to be present, learning to be with life. And deeply, deeply, that was an incredible transformative time. When I look back at it now, it's like, thank you, God, for the gifts. Thank you for the breathing space. Thank you for now allowing me to be able to live life so richly, abundantly. And I'm not even birthing now my new projects in the world. And, you know, if I hadn't had that breakdown, that burnout, that massive lesson, the lesson of trusting that the work can be done, especially when I make time for myself. If I go into my masculine energy and I spend my whole life giving out, and I used to do this, I used to be there for everyone. I would take the calls. I was desperate to please. I wanted to heal everyone I met. I wanted to sort everyone's problems out. You know, I did so many free workshops. I still do them, but I did loads and loads of them. Yeah, I was just there for everyone. I was running my business. I wasn't taking a wage at various points. I always paid my staff when I used to have 9 in my team, and everyone was on great wages. And I wouldn't pay myself. I didn't matter. I matter now. I matter now. I deserve a damn good salary. I deserve rest. I deserve time. I deserve to be in life as well as in work. That means, like, you know, spending time in the garden, spending time in nature, going off traveling for a month. It means dancing, going on dance retreats, you know, writing poetry, painting, all these things that used to just be something that I would squeeze in for 5 minutes. Now they are part of my everyday life. I have a partner who gives to me. I have, you know, someone who supports me so fully. My friendships support me fully. I know how, and the people that I used to give out to who didn't give back are no longer in my life, or I'm not prioritising them. Before, I prioritised everyone over me. Everyone came before me. I don't do that anymore. And as a result, what I've got is I've got quality life. I'm living in the mystery and the magic. And I'm not here boasting. I'm just saying this because this was a complete re-evaluation of how I lived. And I'm living this way because, you know, I actually was pushed to the point where I had to make the decisions. I was pushed to the point where I had no energy, I had no money, I had nothing left to give. So I learned how to just look after myself because I couldn't do it any other way. But now the energy's back, and now I'm not prepared to just give myself to be the sacrificial lamb for everybody. Now I get paid well for my work. I have free time. I have time with my family, you know, and yeah, it's such a different experience of life. And at the fundamental levels, and you'll hear my masculine energy, at the fundamental level, now I say, I prioritise you. You are of value. You are of worth. You're not going to give your life away anymore, Dawn. Now it's a balance between masculine, creating in the world, focusing, doing and doing well and thoroughly, and resting deeply. My throat's sore because I'm on a roll. What happened to me? I just got carried away. Oh. I know how to rest. I know how to receive. I've trained my body to love it. And it started off in my garden, just sitting, being with the grass, being with the plants. And my body said to me, oh my God, do you ever want to work again? Because this feels so good. It feels so good. It feels so rich not to have any goals right now, not to have any vision, just to be, because you're so tired. So just be. And my body just sunk into being. It sunk in and it loved it. And every time I danced, I'd get on that dance floor and I'd sink into meditation dance, and I would just enjoy being, feeling deeply, feeling into the depth of the universe just in that moment. And my body became so accustomed to this feeling that when I did come back into business, I had such strong rules and boundaries. And the rules were that I was never ever going to live life in that place of panic again. I would downscale tomorrow to a caravan, because Liberty's now off, she's flying, she's in her new job, and she's spread her wings. And you know, the only reason I never sold this place, this house, when I was losing it all, was just to protect everybody around me, because that's what I did. Now I would downsize in a minute to have the breathing space, to have the gap, to have the time to reevaluate, because what I know is that once you get into that space, you strengthen, you get back into flow, and then off you go again. So I used to have a core inner panic that was all about succeeding. It was all about achieving my purpose. It was all about making enough money. It was all about one day I've got to, this morning I came out of my meeting with Unison and I thought, if this really, really takes off, it's almost like that would be enough work, in the world for me. That would be such an achievement to work with all these nurses and doctors and all the different people that they're connected to and the NHS. And it was like, what does my future look like? And I'm not completely sure. It's all just unfolding. And 5 years ago, I couldn't breathe sitting in my garden. So panicked, so frightened, that I've recalibrated and strengthened. And that's about balancing the masculine and the feminine. Recalibrate and strengthen. And then the next step, once you learn to do that, and as you know, I see some of our gorgeous coaches on here, we do it through collaging and really starting to feel in your body. Harmonizing is a mindset program. When we do our retreats, I'm going to be doing so much body work. I'm going to take you into your bodies. I'm going to dance you. I'm going to take you into your intuition through creative writing. I'm going to take you into the body through gentle yoga, so that you can really begin to feel the responses in your body. Feel what slow feels like. Feel what natural and relaxed feels like. Feel what harmony feels like. And then once you feel it, we do this at the Academy as well, it's like once you feel into that feeling, then you can begin to make decisions. It's not just a mental decision anymore, it's actually an embodied decision. So number 4, this is the big one. This is so powerful for me. This is about embracing impermanence. Step 4 on the harmonizing journey is about letting go. It's about surrender. And this is a big step. It's about looking to nature and recognizing that every season, everything in nature's changing. It's about looking into nature and seeing how after a storm, a tree can fall over a river and it doesn't necessarily die, but it just begins to reform from where it is. When we look to nature, we can see countries become wiped out. The land becomes fallow, bare, and things begin to grow back. And I think the nature of nature is all about beginnings and endings. And in Buddhism, they talk about the heart of all suffering is attachment to basically keeping things permanent, not allowing things to move on. Relationships change, friendships change, relationships with our parents change, jobs change, job descriptions change, our careers change. We can make new choices every single day. And yet so many of us just get stuck in this mindset of this is how life needs to be. And when I read about intuition and everyone saying, I need to learn to trust my intuition more, this for me is the crux of it. We are so scared to upset other people. We're so scared to downsize. We're so scared to start again. We're so scared to let things go. We're so scared to lean back, because if we lean back, what would happen? So what we do is we push forward in life. We push into these ideals, and the panic just stays with us. And what we're not doing is we're not trusting in the nature, the true nature of nature, which is that everything goes through beginnings and endings. At the end of one thing, we panic and we jump into the next thing. We try to stuff the hole, we fill the gap as fast as we can. We can't sit with emptiness and stillness. We don't know what it means to just slow down. We don't know what it means to really trust in God, the universe, the nature of our divine being. We fear outcomes. We try to control and manipulate outcomes. We resist change. We micromanage whatever it is that's happening around us. In the terror, it's like we're standing at the edge of a cliff. And if we were really to tell our partners, our bosses, our children, our parents, if we were really to allow ourselves to jump off that cliff to do what it is that we want to do, we fear the outcomes for everyone around us, and we fear for ourselves. I think humanity at this point in time, but I think it's changing, is the muscle of trust in life. It's weak. And for a lot of us, we just numb down and dull down our lives because the terror of that stepping off the cliff, the step that we would have to take to honour our hearts, feels so frightening. It feels so frightening, you know, just to step into something new. And I think what's behind a lot of that is I remember, you know, when I lost the business, the day I decided to close it all down, I remember thinking, I'm no longer a life coach. I no longer have this reputation. I'm now a failure. And I'm so exhausted that I have no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And in that moment, it was the death of my ego. It was the death of my identity of Dawn Breslin as she was back then. What I didn't know back then was that if I just allowed this being, this physical vehicle, to recover for a while, that the intuitive impulses would come through, and just like nature, you know, death of the old DB went into the soil, and all the experiences and all the lessons with that death went into the soil. And that soil, in that dark period, everything that was happening under the ground was strengthening and maturing and deepening DB. To the point that there came a day 2 years later where the springtime came and new downloads and new ideas started to emerge, and it was a very slow unfolding as a new version of me with a new concept. I never even knew about harmonising back then. I never knew that I'd be teaching surrender, I'd be teaching about living with uncertainty. I felt so broken, and I didn't know who I was and what I was going to do again. I'm going to tell you a story. This is a great story. About 6 months ago, my daughter had a bit of heartache, and she came to me and she said, I just feel really upset, Mum. And I said to her, you know, it will pass. I was hearing her and I said, it will pass. And at the same time, this thing happened in the garden where my cat, Willow, who you've probably seen in videos, Willow was chasing a butterfly in the garden, and By the time I got to the butterfly, half of its wing was broken. And I was so upset, you know, and I chased Willow inside, and I had this little butterfly in my hand, and it was lying there with half a wing on one side and a wing on the other side. And it was just still, and I thought, is it dead? Is it dead? And I was just so upset for it, and I was so cross with Willow. I was like, what have you done to the butterfly, you know? You thought it was a toy, this poor butterfly. And I had my hands over it, and I thought, what am I going to do with you? And at that moment, Willow came bounding down the garden, meowing. And the butterfly heard the meow and took off into the sky, over the sea. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, oh my God, even with a broken wing, even when it looked like it was dying, I bet it never knew what strength it had inside of it. And that spirit is always there. You know, we talk about being broken, having our spirit broken. If we are patient, if we are kind to ourselves, you know, we can be like that butterfly, even if something doesn't work out. We have it within us to take flight again. And I'm living proof of that. I'm living proof that even when it all breaks down, when you get quiet, your intuitive impulses will re-emerge. And what you've got to do is just train your mindset to be in the present. And where I'm at now is I see life as a series of beginnings and endings. I had a conversation with Marcus the other day, and he said to me, you know, Dawn, if you met someone else, he said, it would break my heart, but I would accept that that is just exactly where you need to be in your life right now. I'm not going to hold on to you so tightly. You know, but in our relationships, we hold on so tightly. In our friendships, we hold on so tightly. With our business ideas, we hold on so tightly. And I think this is a new way of thinking and being in the world where we need to embrace beginnings and endings. What kind of colourful human being would you be if you went through a number of metamorphoses? Metamorphoses? No, doesn't sound right. Changes in your life. What if we accepted change? What if we accepted falling down from time to time? What if we accepted that sometimes we will get the broken wing? What if sometimes we downscale and other times we upscale? What if we start to embrace that whole new way of thinking? What impact would that have in your life? And right now, where are you holding on so tightly? What is it you're so frightened of? What are you frightened of losing? What is it you're controlling? What is it you're not trusting? What are you attached to? What is it you've told yourself you can't live without? Once you review these questions, where do you need to step up? What do you need to do to follow your heart, to follow the whisperings of your soul? And how can you begin just slowly? And if you can just, it's almost like if you've got a big garden, just in the corner, start to cultivate that thing. Just in the corner, plant the seeds, tend the garden. Start it small. Start it, start the conversations. Start to speak up. And then once you do, the universe will hear you. And synchronicity will begin to fall into place, to guide you exactly where you need to be. So that's my answer to the question on intuition. I don't know how long I've been online, quite a long time. Yeah, I really hope who's online, Jade, Zoe, Trisha, yeah, I really hope that there's some value in that system there for you. I can't wait to write the book because I just feel I've got so many different aspects of it. Yeah, that was quite good, just taking an idea and sharing it with you in here, and I'll continue to do that over the following weeks and months. And I think for now I'm just going to go off because I've got a pile of work to do before I go off for dinner with one of my friends this evening. So thanks for listening, and thanks for the love hearts. And yeah, any more questions, thoughts, whatever, let's continue the thread. What did this live stream bring up for you? My pleasure, Zoe. Elizabeth, lovely to see you. Jade, Trisha, mwah, 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 mwah. All right, speak to you soon, guys. Lots of love. Have a great day. Prioritise that tender heart and give that soul a voice. The world needs you. We all need you to step up. Okay, I'm going. Bye-bye.